Alright, in this video I'm going to talk about line segments. I'm going to talk about the notation for line segments, what I mean by the midpoint, bisector, and then what I mean by sums and differences and lengths of line segments. Alright, so we already talked about undefined terms, and one of the undefined terms was a line. Alright, and in our minds we think of a infinitely long collection of points in a certain direction. There's one example. Here's another example. Alright, so here's a couple of different lines. And we can focus on just a piece of the line. For example, we could talk about the piece of, let me highlight it in yellow. We could talk about the piece of this line that's in between those other lines that cross it. Okay? If we did that, then that piece of a line, we call that a line segment. Okay, segment means a piece. All right, and we can define pieces all day long of lines. All right, one way that we define a clear way to define line segments is to say, okay, everything between, let's say, let me define this to be point A. Let me put another point on the line here, point B. Okay, and we would say everything in between points A and B, that's the line segment that I'm thinking of. All right, and so hopefully that there wouldn't be any ambiguity if we did that. Now, remember, points are denoted by capital letters, and we said that 2 points define a line. If you want to write the line segment between A and B, what you do is you put the 2 endpoints and you put a line above like that. Okay? Now, you can also talk about the length of the line segment. If you wanted to express the length of the line segment between A and B, that would be written as AB. So AB means the length between those 2 points. Okay, so moving on. Now, let me put an example of a line segment here, and I'll label some dots to give the endpoints. Let's call this one point X and point Y. So we're talking about line segment XY. All right. Now, suppose that I identified the point that was right in the middle of the line segment. Let's say I was right there, and let's say that it happened to be, we'll give it a name. Let's call it point C for center. Let's call it A instead. Okay, so A is the point A is at the center. All right. Now, another name you'll see people in geometry use this. They'll call the center point of a line segment the midpoint. All right. So midpoints mean the center. Now, what if I have another line? Now, I drew already a picture where I had line segments crisscrossing other line segments. All right. Suppose that I had a line that just happened to cross a line segment at the midpoint. So it chops. Basically, you could say that line chopped it in half. You have half of line segment XY is on each side of the blue line. All right. So lines that are segments that do that, these are called bisectors. Okay, so bisectors and midpoints. Now, the last thing I need to talk about is what does it mean to add and subtract line segments. So let me draw a line. Let me label some points on it. We'll call this A, B, C, and D. All right. And what would it mean to say take the line segment between points A and B and add that to B, the line segment between B and C? So what that means, what it means to add line segments is, imagine taking two sticks and laying them end to end. Okay, so in the same direction, all lined up. So if you did that, it should be clear that that's going to make a new line segment that's the same distance as between A and C. Okay, so we say that that is we say that that gives a line segment that's essentially the same as A and C. All right, now the lengths of those are equal. So the length of AB plus the length of BC is equal to the length of AC. Okay? Let's do another one. What is the length of BC plus the length of CD? Is there another line segment length that's equal to that? All right. Hopefully you see that that has the same. Once, if that means we're adding the sticks up, lining them up end to end in the same direction. So hopefully you see that that's the same length as the stick between B and D, the line segment. All right. Now let's do. How about this one? What if we had? What if we had AD? That's the line segment. And what if we subtracted CD? What in the world does that mean? Well, that means that you're cutting. You have the stick, the line segment AD, and you're cutting and you're removing the piece of it with the length CD. Okay, if you did that, I hope you can see that you would have a stick that's basically the same as AC. All right. So lengthwise, we could say that if I measure the length of AD and I subtract the length of CD, then that's going to be the same length as the line segment between AC.